Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this episode of G-Bear's Off-Grid Ways, a homestead in the desert. And today I promised I would cover the building of the outhouse and the mash shower. So we'll be getting to that in a minute. I have my measuring tape right here so I can show measurements, and we'll discuss the design. I can't, of course, take it apart and show you how I actually put it together, but we'll talk about that and we should get it done. I heard one place that at one time in history, rocks were used for form of measurements, and I figured it out. Okay, so this is 1 quart, this is 2 quarts or 1/2, this is 3 quarts, and this one's a whole. Yeah. Okay, if you're buying that, I also have some pineapple groves in northern Alaska I've been trying to get rid of. So contact me about those. All right. So let's head on over to the outhouse. Now, when I built this outhouse, I used basically mostly everything on it is the least expensive that you could buy at the big box stores, because it was an outhouse. And as some of you remember, originally this was my original outhouse porta potty, and I made this out of materials I found out here in the desert completely. So there's the cover that used to lift up, and then I had a 55-gallon plastic trash bag that hung down through there with the bottom cut open, and it went into a hole in the ground. And that was so what was coming down through there wouldn't get all over your legs while you're sitting down. Wasn't the most comfortable in the world, but it worked. So back to the outhouse. All right. So what I used on this were 6-foot tall fence boards, and these were called the whitewood fence boards. They just had a red colored dye on them, but they're basically just whitewood. So going this way, it's 4 feet across. All right. And going this way, it's just under 3 feet. You can go to 3 feet if you want. I went this far because it would have meant having to cut one of these or rip one of these boards down to go a little bit further. Now, one thing about this whitewood boards is it shrinks like crazy. For those of you who have ever used it on fencing, you know that. So you end up starting these off tight together. You end up with gaps between them. Now, the plan was, and I've never gotten to it because it really hasn't been a priority, is to get a couple more of these whitewood boards and rip them in half, and then put the 1/2-inch rip piece across the openings here, and screw them in at a couple of locations so that they're held in place and they stay there. Okay, so remember, don't go to 3 feet unless it's closest a little over 3 feet with one extra board on there. However you want to work it, just so you don't have to rip a board. All right, on this side, 2 boards on this side of the door, 2 boards on that side of the door, and then whatever it took to make a door out of it. Okay? Pretty simple. So what I started with was I had some of this 3/4-inch plywood laying around, which has finished one side. So that was given to me from somebody's garage that was a piece left over. So what I did was I cut 2 pieces that were 14 inches wide. So I had a front and a back. Okay, and then they're 4 foot for the whole distance of the width of the outhouse enclosure. Okay, so I made a box, bottom line, out of the wood I had. And yes, it does have plywood sides here and here. Okay, now I had this old wooden toilet seat for years and years and years, and out of nostalgia purposes, I never threw it away. It's got solid brass hinges on it, and it's made out of good solid oak. So it's always been a good toilet seat, and I said, well, heck, what better seat to put in an outhouse than a wooden seat, right? And no, you don't get splinters from it. All right, so to make the hole, what I did was I set the toilet seat in place, and then I traced the cutout in the center of it so that I could cut with a jigsaw. I cut that hole out of the top piece of plywood. Now inside the box, I lined the back wall and the front wall with pieces of galvanized sheet metal. And you can buy that at the roofing and plumbing departments in Home Depots. It's easy to find, but that's just to protect the wood from rotting from splashes and splatters and things like that. Okay, so once I got the box built, then all I had to do was set that in place and build a outhouse around it. So I used 2x4s to make a square or a rectangular shaped base for this whole thing to sit on. And I set the box on it. And then I could have something, as you can see down there, I could have something to screw my upright boards into place with. So that worked out there. Then on the top, I had some 2x4s, but I ran out, so I had some 1x4s that worked out just as well. And I put 1x4s on the two sides. After putting the back up, I put the back up first out here because that direction is the direction that the main winds come from. So temporarily, while I had time to build this, I had a box here with just a back wall. No sides, no doors or anything like that. But there was never anything on that side of me that I had to worry about anybody getting a free show or anything like that. I did put an extra piece of 2x12 that I had laying around up there for a shelf because I want to be able to keep an extra roll of toilet paper and some things like Rid-X handy to have with an outhouse. Every 3 weeks or so, I put some of that down inside of the opening, and it keeps breaking down the waste and the paper and everything that's down there. So this has been sitting here for a few years now, and the hole in the bottom is not even close to being 1/4 full because I keep breaking it down and breaking it down. Now the wet marks on the wood there, that's because I have a garden hose that comes from my laundry out here and sticks down into the pit down on the bottom. And then when I do laundry, that water comes in, and that water mixing with the Rid-X helps get the little microbes activated and eating up everything, especially the TP. The TP actually will break down with water faster. If you leave it dry, it takes forever for it to break down. All right. So I found some of these pieces of flooring out in the desert, and I used those for the flooring up front here. Now when you dig the hole to set this over, you want to go about 10 inches smaller than your opening here, than the base of your unit. That's so that the walls don't crumble and it doesn't fall down into the hole. If you go stay in about 10 inches, 10 inches, 10 inches, 10 inches, well, on the back there, I didn't really go 10 inches. I was going to, but then I realized that I could slide it back just so it sits over the edge, and with 3 sides of it solid on the ground, I didn't have any problem with the back sinking in. All right, so for the roof, very simple. Got rafters in the front, I got rafters in the back, nothing in between. Okay, just some of those fence boards, these little pieces of whitewood. All right, so I just put those up as shingles, covered them with tar paper, and then put some asphalt shingles I had laying around on top of that, just to hold the tar paper down in the winds. On the inside, this originally is just some 6 mil plastic that I had on there, just so if it rained, before I got the roof on, if it rained, I would be protected in here. So that's all that is, but I figured why not leave it there? It's been there all this time, and it hasn't caused a problem, and gives me a little more insulation in there. All right, so that's basically it. Now, the door, just the fence boards, piece of 1x4, piece of 1x4. Now, the slant that's on here, okay, this is the proper way to put it on a door. The bottom goes down to where the bottom hinges on top of the crossboard. Okay, so that gives it a place for pressure to be pushing down on. So if the door wants to sag down on the opening side, it can't, because this piece is holding it up. It's like a crutch. Now, if you put it the other way, if you put it here, that's not going to hold that end up, and it's going to sag down. So you definitely want to put it in. So when you're looking at the open door from the inside, it says Z. Okay? So remember, just remember that the bottom of the center part of the Z always goes down to just above the hinge, where the hinge is attached at the bottom of the door. That's where your support pressure will be, is going right to where the hinge is, so you won't have to worry about the door ever sagging. Now for handles, I just had some old gate latches around. So I got one handle there, one handle here, and then this gate latch is what holds the door shut. Okay, and then I got the wire going through the inside, and I use wire, not string, because I'm in the desert and string will dry out, and then you won't have any way of pulling that if you're inside. So if you're inside, you can close the door, lock it, and then you can pull to let that open. Okay, of course, got a magazine rack in here just for some decoration, a piece of cardboard on the windiest side to block some of the wind. This bucket contains lime, the white powdered lime. You can buy it in 50-pound bags or so, or the big bags at Home Depot for just a couple of dollars. They're cheap, but that's good for helping keep odors down. That will really definitely stop your outhouse from stinking. All right. Of course, I keep all kinds of little things in here. Made my own toilet paper holder with some wood I found in the desert and a bolt I found in the desert. And then I put this on here because, of course, the winds blow out here. And this holds the toilet paper from unraveling in the wind. And I just turn it to one side when I want to change the roll and put it back in place. Simple. Okay, this little thing here is one of my rapid rod mixers. This is a mini size. I had lots of extras. And I put this here so the end of it is painted fluorescent red or fluorescent pink or something like that. So you push this open when you're in use, if there's other people staying with you, so they can, as they're walking towards it, they see that sticking out. I'll show you that on the outside. See it sticking out? That means it's in use. So they don't have to walk all the way out here and surprise you when they open up the door and go, "Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know you are. Now apologize." All right. So that's it. Yellow bucket's a wastebasket. The extra metal braces there are to hold that floor a little more solid, because, of course, it gets wet there when the water comes in from the laundry and splashes down there. And that's about it. All right. So I did put a little piece of 1x up underneath the eave there, just so that birds and stuff won't go under there. You can see some of my shingles have lifted because of the winds that blow out here. I'll put those back down, and I'll nail them down at the bottom here. They'll be fine. The roof never leaks on this, and I'm not going to worry about it. Down the line, I will pick up some more boards and put them over the cracks in here to seal off the outhouse a little bit better. Up in the top, just whatever scrap wood I had left to fill it in from the inside, just put it up against the two rafters and shoot a couple of screws and hold it in place. And make sure you block those little V-holes so the birds don't use them as an entrance. All right, that covers the outhouse. So we're going to move over to the mash shower. And we'll show you that here in a second. So the winds have been calm all day, just a light breeze, just barely flapping the flag. Nice day, upper 70s. But a dust devil did come through here earlier, and it was really ripping. I mean, just covered the whole area around the cabin with a big cloud of dust. All right, the door. That is a leftover door from a shower that I had torn apart on one of my customers' houses. I got two of them. Actually, I did two bathrooms. And I saved the doors because I knew I was going to be coming out here to the desert, and I knew that those glass doors would come in handy. They are tempered glass, so that's a good place to use them. All right, basically 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot. Okay, now I put the boards all the way up higher on this side and that side because that's the way the wind comes from. So I can close this down by simply taking the brace out, close that down, and I've got a lever on the inside that I can lock it so it doesn't flap in the wind. Okay, there we go. So this is all made with leftover scraps and stuff that I had, and fence boards. Because they're 6 foot fence boards, cut them right in half, and you got 3 foot, 3 foot, 3 foot, you know, so it works out. All right, so I put this little latch on here because the catch on this, every time things dry out and shift, the catch doesn't want to catch on the metal anymore. So I got this where I could just reach around from the inside and lock the door so it doesn't blow open while I'm showering. I put a little seat in the back there so I can sit down to wash my feet. The base. Okay, now some of you want to catch that extra water that you're using. Originally I had a plan of doing that, but I made the base out of that manufactured decking, which is actually plastic. It's not wood. It looks like wood, but it's actually plastic. Okay, so that doesn't rot from getting water on it, and the water runs through the cracks, and it won't warp. I won't get splinters in my feet or anything like that. So it worked out real well. And 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and then 3 pieces underneath. I think it was 6 more. That's 20. Yeah, 24 foot. So it's 2 12-footers that I bought in order to make this base. Okay, I use pressure treated 2x4s around the base to hold the legs solid, and it won't sink in the ground in any one of the corners because it's got a larger footprint. 2x4s in the corners, very simple. Okay, 1x4s at the top to go all the way around to hold the top in place. Now once you get all of these boards with 2 screws in each one going all the way around here, this does not rock back and forth or shimmy back and forth at all. It's pretty solid. All right, so 20-gallon barrels at the top. I painted one black so that gets hot with just the lightest bit of sunlight like we've had these the past few days. I've got a hot shower outside here. This unit is just PVC with a female garden hose connector on this end, so I can put my transfer pump hose into that, open the valve, it goes up and into the top valve, opening of the barrel, and I can fill it without having to climb up there to fill it. And since these have a manifold going across the two, then when you fill up one, the other one also fills up. I do have shut-off valves, one in there and one here on the top, where I can shut off one barrel or the other. In the summertime, sometimes the water gets too hot in that barrel. I'll shut off the hot water and I'll just use the cooler water to take a shower in. And then if it gets later and the sun sets and I want a little hot water, I just come out here, open the valve up, and I've got hot water. All right. These tubes going up here, I set those on there. They were clear tubes originally. And I set those there so I could see how much water was in there. Not a good idea because it ended up causing algae growth because the sun could get at the water that was in the clear plastic tube. So that wasn't a really good idea. I did strap it down with a ratcheting tie down so that the winds wouldn't blow it over. And I put some 2x4 braces underneath the 2x12 shelf so that it held it in place. And I have a shut-off valve here. That line runs to the sink on the other side. And we'll go around and take a look at that. Okay, so this all came from Habitats from Humanity, all this stuff. I just made the holder shelf for it to put the sink in here. And I just drained it into one of these buckets. And I put a cover on there so I don't get all kinds of bugs and critters and stuff in there. But then I could take that over and water some trees or plants with it. An old hot baths and massages mirror. Just great for shaving or brushing your teeth or whatever. I had these things out here for it, but they do not stay mirrored very long. And then they warp in the heat. And it's like looking in a funhouse mirror. All right, so I've got the water shut off to this. Oh no, I got it on. So I've got water in this sink when I need it. And I can come out here in the summertime when it's too hot to be in the cabin. I can wash my hands and face, brush my teeth, all of that, without having to mess up the inside of the cabin. I have a little towel ring here to hold the towel. This is to hold my toothbrush, and this one usually holds my razor. But I stuck this light in it so that it gets solar during the day and lights up at night, gives me a little light out here. And then I got another one over there. I forget what I stuck in there. Oh, I think that was a guest toothbrush. Anyway, that's how this is all done. Lastly, coming off the center of the manifold, I went to a plumbing company. I told them I wanted one of the spring-loaded pull chain shower valves, and they gave me this one, and it works out great. So all I have to do is pull on the rope and I've got water. Okay, so this works out great for me. I put the mirror inside of here so I can shave in the shower. I put a little shelf over here. This is for the back of the mirror. So I have a soap dish and shampoo holder and that stuff on this side over here. And that's it. Now that one originally has a element in the bottom of it for a hot water element that I was going to use for my dump load to go to. But like I said, I don't need any more hot water. Just the sun itself gets that barrel, the water in that barrel, so hot that you cannot get underneath that shower and pull that in the summertime. It'll just burn you. It'll scald you. So there's really no need to add hot water. And I'm not going to come out here and take a shower in the wintertime when it's 35 or 40 degrees outside, because after I get wet, I got to go back to the cabin. And that may not look like a long distance, but when you're soaking wet and it's freezing cold outside, that's a long distance. I'll take my showers indoors in the winter. All right. So I covered everything I had to cover. I hope that answers your questions. If not, put some more questions down in the comment section below. Add your comments down there. And thanks for joining me on this episode. G-Bear reminding you, don't forget the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for being with me today. G-Bear signing off.